Good morning, everyone. Jim Laird here, live from Largo, Florida. It is a beautiful day here. It's a little muggy. We had a little rain. It's been a little cooler, which is kind of nice. We've had a really busy couple, like last week here. Last week had a great interview with Stan Efferding. We had Wendy on from Visibly Fit, which is a great interview. You can check those out if you go to our podcasts on YouTube and scroll through there. You can check those interviews out. The interview with Stan was really good. We're going to get into a lot of what Stan and I talked about today with our topic, which is why most people do not get results. We've released our thyroid course. You can go down in the description and sign up for that with a 10% discount using the Jim all caps code. We are also scheduling a live Q&A tomorrow night at 5:30. We're doing it on StreamYard. You can register for that. The link is below. We had tons of emails about questions about the thyroid course, what's involved, how it can help you, all those good things. So we decided to do a live, and we'll actually talk to you about any other questions you have. I think there's a lot of confusion still in exactly what we do in the coaching practice versus the medical practice. And we'll talk about a little bit about that today. But really, from what I've learned, I did when I first started working with Dr. Stillman. He was on a Joe Mercola's podcast, and he received thousands of inquiries. And I got on the phone with all these people, and they all wanted to work with Dr. Stillman. So what we're trying, we know there's a lot of people that want to work with Dr. Stillman. It's just a matter of finding a way that's reasonable, affordable for most people, but also at the same time doesn't burn Dr. Stillman out. Because doing one-on-one consults all the time, it just wears you out, and then what he'd have to charge to make that worth his while is out of most people's reaches. So that's one of the reasons we started the coaching programs. In the link in the description below, you'll also see we get tons of inquiries every month to be in the executive wellness, which generally speaking, most of it is high-level executive men that are working really hard, that have multiple businesses. Usually those are the kind of people that reach out for that program. We get dozens of inquiries every month, but on the medical side, we just cannot take that many people. So we've started an executive coaching program for men because we get so many inquiries. There's a link to book a call with Eric. They'll go through everything that's basically involved with that coaching process. But here's the beauty of coaching. We get tons of people that'll be on a waiting list to see Dr. Stillman, and they want labs and they want all the things done. And then when they actually get the labs and we see what's actually going on, 99.99, 98, 97% of the time, all the basic fundamental habits and some really simple lifestyle changes would have taken care of the issues they had going on in their labs. So it's much better to get into the coaching program and get guidance from us, from our combined experience, and help you simplify things, get you on the right track. Then you might not even need the medical program. And here's the thing too, Dr. Stillman can educate you on how to work with your current doctor, the things to say to him, the things to avoid, the lab tests that you can get. A lot of these tests you can get on your own. And Dr. Stillman can, you can bring the labs to the group call and he can educate you on what they mean. And he can't prescribe anything for you, but he can give you advice based on what he would do or what I would do. That's essentially what we do. So it's a great way to interact with Dr. Stillman in a small group environment and to get the support that you need and to get reinforcement and coaching for behavior change, because that's really at the root of getting what you need, getting the results that you want. And that's what I've seen, in my coaching practice, over the last going on like almost 30 years now. I used to do a podcast with a guy named Kiefer on Body.io FM. He's kind of gone missing in action. His website isn't working that well. A lot of the interviews that I did with him are still available on SoundCloud, I think, or Sound something. I'll put a link to that in the description of some of my better interviews. I'll go back and add that. But all the most difficult cases that I had, whether it be PCOS or burnout, these are people that I had to reinforce constantly. They'd be complaining, I'm not getting any better. Well, are you managing your stress better? Have you done this? Are you getting more time outside? Are you relaxing? No. And then 2 weeks later, they're complaining again. Are you doing this? Are you doing what I told you? No. And so the constant, and a lot of them, it took several months for them to actually, and some of them a year, for us to figure out, well, one, for them to comply. Like Stan said, compliance is the science. If you don't comply, you're not going to get the results. And most people do not have great self-awareness. That's why they hire coaches. That's why guys in the NFL have coaches. These guys are such great athletes, but the coach looks at the athlete and helps the athlete basically figure out what they need to work on and how to best utilize that. A great coach is going to utilize that athlete's strengths. You look at a guy like Bill Belichick over the years, he would take players that were not that great on other teams and say, hey, that guy can do this really well. He fits into our system. He brings him in and all of a sudden turns him into an all-pro, like a Wes Welker kind of guy or a Julian Edelman. Some of these guys that he got from, really low draft picks or other teams that really fit into his system. And that's essentially what we do is we look at your lifestyle, we look at what's going on in your life. And a lot of times people don't see the 900-pound gorilla on their shoulder and they keep chasing shiny objects. And most of the cases with the high level executives that we work with, it's a matter of simplifying. They've tried every supplement. They're on peptides, they're on HRT, but they've got these monsters in their closet that they're not addressing. They're just looking for more shiny solutions. And we get to the root cause of what's actually going on, whether it's stress management or being more efficient with their time, or, maybe their diet isn't dialed in the way it was, or their exercise program that worked for 20 years, all of a sudden it's not working anymore and they don't feel good. So we have to adjust their exercise program. We have to give them some variability in their movement, some variability in the way they breathe, and simplifying the process, getting that foundation built. And then we can go back to, maybe we add some peptides back in, some supplements, and see if it actually works. But a lot of times, we had one guy here recently, literally on like several thousands of dollars of supplements, peptides, a month, HRT. We dialed him back and got him going in the right direction. And now when he actually adds those things back in, he actually gets something out of it. Before, his body just didn't have the resources to actually do anything with the peptides or do anything with the HRT. It was more just to prop him up. And now he's thriving as long as he basically, manages his life. He makes sure that when he works really hard, he takes a little time to relax and to chill. He's got modalities like float tank and things like that built into his life to help offset a lot of the stress that he's under. He's also delegated things to other people. So Dr. Stillman and I are able to look at your life, talk to you, and help you kind of figure out what the big rocks are for you to change. And that's the value of the coaching program. You don't need to be in a medical program for us to do that. And the coaching program is much more reasonable. The medical program is a little more expensive, obviously, because that requires more of Dr. Stillman's time, and his time is very, very limited. So that's one of the reasons we started these different programs, is so we could work and help with more people. So thanks for all the likes. I really appreciate that. If you have any questions, please enter them in the comments. I'd be happy to discuss them. But over and over again in my career, even myself, when I was powerlifting, I had people like Jim Windler, guys like Chuck Vogelpool would help me, look at what I was doing and make adjustments. Jim Windler helped me out immensely with one or two coaching sessions. And it was not anything earth shattering. It was just basic stuff, basic setup on the bench. I wasn't setting up properly. I wasn't tight enough. And, in one session, puts 150 pounds on my bench press, with a bench shirt, caveat. But little things like that, like Stan Efferding in my interview with him, working with some of the strongest guys and the highest level athletes in the world. And his questionnaire is the basics. And most of these guys aren't doing the basics. They're not getting enough sleep. They're not getting enough vitamin D. They're not eating. Their nutrition is not that great. So even with the people at the top, these fundamental things, a lot of these people are so gifted and so good, they can get away with not doing everything right and still be successful. But then the thing they need to do to take it to the next level is not necessarily working harder. A lot of it is about being more efficient. So you can work harder and then shutting it off when you do the hard work. There's a lot of people get caught in this hard work mantra, which is nothing wrong with hard work. I love it. They just don't do the opposite. They don't shut it off. And so you don't have that yin and yang balance. And that's what most people are lacking, is they're lacking that yin and yang balance. They're too much on the fire and they don't have enough water. So you've got to have both. If you want to have long-term success, there are people that can get away with driving themselves into the ground for years and years and years. And then one day they wake up and they can't get out of bed. And that's a lot of the people that we deal with. Hey, I did ultra marathons. I did triathlons for 10, 15 years. I was running 2 businesses. I've got a family with multiple kids. And all of a sudden I have no energy. I can't get out of bed. What's going on? Well, you've burned the candle at both ends for 10 or 15, 20 years. And now you have to make adjustments so you can get your vitality back, but then make sure that you're able to do the maintenance and the work. You can't get away with the stuff you did when in your 20s and 30s that you can't do that when you're 50. So a lot of this is simplifying, building habits, getting people to be more self-aware. And that's where we're having coaches come in, and coaches, especially with experience, that have worked with thousands of people, that can, I can literally, when I talk to somebody, I can listen to the way they talk, and I can tell more or less what's going on in their life just by their tone of voice and how they speak, especially when it comes to the ladies. I can usually have a conversation and be like, yeah, you need to spend a little more time to yourself and relax a little bit more. You're on fire. That's usually what I see. There are exceptions, of course. Can you talk about sleep? Sometimes Amy asks, sometimes sleep is challenging due to externals beyond my control, car alarms, I be snoring. Any thoughts on how to be a less sensitive sleeper? Yes, Amy, that is a great question. I think there are things like earplugs that work really, really well. This is probably going to sound terrible, but sleep deprivation is insanely destructive. So if your husband snores that bad, one, I would send him to somebody to either get a mouth guard, or I can take a look at him and give him some things. Actually, in the fundamentals of wellness, that the course that you have access to, there's a section on breathing. There's some really simple drills he can do, rounding over the stability ball, some different things that'll help him improve his breathing mechanics. So maybe he won't snore as much. He can also sleep on his side. That really helps. But if it's that bad and it's affecting your sleep, I would sleep in separate bedrooms. That's just me, because if you're sleep deprived, then you're not going to be, you're not going to be as pleasant of a partner. So I think if you absolutely have to go into another room and sleep there, that'll help you over the long run. Because if you're constantly running sleep deprived, you're not going to be in a good place physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Earplugs, try that. Sleep mask. The big thing is the ritual at night, making sure that you're getting off the screens around 8:30. The lights are off at night when the sun goes down. You've got blue blockers on if you do have to have lights on. Um, there's there's orange bulb. There's like night bulbs you can get. You can go on Amazon and look. I hate plugging Amazon, but they're a great service. I know what they're trying to do to us, but unfortunately, that's just reality. Or if you go to Home Depot or wherever, they have nighttime bulbs. We try and keep, like, we're working in the kitchen. We try and keep, like, we'll put we have a red bulb that's in the overhead on the microwave. So we'll turn that on. We try and keep the lights down low as opposed to up high. And, but I have a red light panel that I leave on in the background. The big panel I just turn it so it's facing the wall, so I'm not looking at the brightness. And then I have a smaller red light panel that I use that I can take in different places of the house if I'm having to do work late at night. But the big thing is doing some like some sort of reset or relaxation drill before bed. I really like, even if you just squat down with your feet fairly close together and get on your toes and sit in a deep, deep squat, round it over, and just breathe there in through your nose, out through your mouth. Crocodile breathing, which is where you lay flat on the floor or the bed and put a pillow under your belly, put your hands like this and do some breathing in through your nose, out through your mouth, rounding over the stability ball, grabbing onto, if you get a door, if you grab onto each doorknob handle, you put your feet really narrow and you sit all the way down in a deep squat. These are things that are going to help turn off the, high threshold state to help get you ready for bed. I like reading before bed. I use a red light headlamp that hypnotizing of going back and forth on the page really makes you tired and wears you out. That's something I like to do before bed. But when I get into trouble with my sleep, it's usually because my nighttime routine goes to hell. I get a little distracted or I'm a little stressed and I start watching history videos on YouTube. And before you know it, it's 11 o'clock. And so I have to get that phone out of my hand. Um, and I have to get that phone out of my hand or else I fall into a trap that I can't get out of. But those are the suggestions I would make: sleep mask, earplugs, blackout curtains. If the earplugs don't work, sleep in a separate bedroom. Those are all things, and go through that wind down stage, because we're rolling so hard all the time that a lot of times we just take that right to bed with us, so. Thank you. She says, thank you. Amy says, thank you. We'll keep working. My Aura Ring data has been eye-opening. I appreciate your encouragement. You're welcome. Make sure you're wearing it in airplane mode, and tell me your respiratory rate, and your HRV and your resting heart rate. I'll be able to tell you a lot of things about what's going on with you if you don't mind. Roderick says, how do you spot or tell that the company is selling a good red light therapy device? I know not every device are created equal. We like EMR Tech, and that's funny that you say that. Is the owner of EMR Tech is actually doing a live this afternoon at 3 p.m. You can go on Dr. Stillman's YouTube page or mine, and you'll find it there. He's doing a half an hour presentation on red light therapy. I know he's going to be giving some sick, ridiculous offer on discount on his red light panels. Dr. Stillman and I both tested his red light panels. And it's also the red light panel that Dr. Jack Cruz recommends. They're very reasonably priced. His little one, it's about this big, I can't remember the name. There's a link in my link tree as well. There's a link if you Google red light therapy, Dr. Stillman, it'll pull that up. There's a discount code. But if you wait till this afternoon, you tune in live, Chris is going to be sharing like a ridiculous discount. That would be EMR Tech is the company we use. We've tested the lights ourselves. Dr. Cruz has tested them for EMF as well. And so we actually know, and we've experienced, and we use these lights all the time. And that's the one we recommend. And, I take the little one with me when I travel. I put it on in the background in hotels. People see, this red light. It's really interesting. I have a picture, and when I was in Nashville last year with a big red light on the window, people walking by pointing at it. It's pretty funny. So I hope that helps with you. Best way to avoid Alzheimer's. Well, I would say get out and get your sun. I would say eat an insulin controlled lifestyle. So eat real food, get out in the sun, exercise appropriately. Your brain doesn't rot when you're doing different types of movement. I would learn different languages. I would learn new instruments. But really, the big thing is controlling systemic inflammation. Oh yeah, the question is best way to avoid Alzheimer's. I forget we also have an audio podcast as well that people can't see the screen, so that's the question. But all the basic fundamentals, I think most people don't get outside as much. The sun is protective against things like that. The sun regulates blood sugar. It controls your immune system. It detoxifies your body. Just do all the basic fundamentals, basically walk outside 3 times a day, and you want to get as much skin in the game as you can. Eat a protein at every meal. That's going to help support your brain and give you the fat and the protein and the resources to help support brain health. Drink high quality water, preferably spring water. You definitely don't want to have fluoride in your diet or in your water or birth control, whatever else is in there. Get the lights off at night so you get that restorative sleep. That's when the brain detoxifies and heals itself when you sleep. So if you're not sleeping, your brain is not going to be healing itself. And then, of course, have a great social connection, have a good social life. Just all the basic stuff is going to help you avoid Alzheimer's. But, puzzles, doing things that challenge your mind, doing different types of movement, getting up and down off the floor every day. These are all things that are going to help ward that off. And Roderick says, thank you. No problem. Tune into that live this afternoon at 3 and get yourself a sweet discount on the EMR Tech red light. Let's see. Amy's Oura Ring data. HRV increased from 28 to 37. Good. 18 respiratory rate. We need to work on that, my friend. So if you go into the fundamentals of wellness course and you go into the breathing, you need to do some of those drills, preferably the stability ball rounding, and then the one where you sit down in a deep squat off the door. You need to do those every day. When you're walking around in everyday life, we want to get that respiratory rate down to about 12. That basically means you're running around, you're over revving, you're over breathing. So when you're in the car, put the tongue in the roof of your mouth, breathe through your nose, breathe less. That's actually going to help you absorb more oxygen. So you don't have to breathe as much. But getting some variability in your posture so you breathe more efficiently, and then also just being cognitive of slowing your breathing down and breathing through your nose. When you're cooking in the kitchen, anytime you're not talking or doing something, put that tongue in the roof of your mouth, close your mouth, and slow your breathing down through your nose, especially at night. Really get in the habit of doing that. And get that respiratory rate down, because it's going to make a huge difference. Because you're running around with a respiratory rate of 18, you're burning up more things like magnesium, all the feel good minerals. You're burning through, cortisol. You're using up a lot of resources. Get outside. That's going to help you relax. Make sure you're getting more quiet time in nature. And now that you have that, that's good. Your HRV went up from 28 to 37. Basically, HRV tells me how easily you shift back and forth from running from a bear and relaxing. And right now with that lower HRV, you're having a hard time switching back and forth. Yes, David, box breathing has definitely helps with that. It's definitely a great tool. The thing that's missed is most people miss the shape of the rib cage and the position of the pelvis in their breathing mechanics. And if you don't have the ability to create the zone of apposition where your rib cage and your pelvis are lined up and you can breathe circumferentially, even box breathing is going to drive you into that extended state. It's going to help, but it's not going to get to the actual root cause of why most people are over breathing. Is one, they just got into the habit of doing it and their body is stuck there and they don't know how to get out. And two, they don't have the ability to circumferentially expand through the rib cage front to back everywhere. They breathe really short and shallow, and it's up high in the chest and it's forward, or they're really compressed like Dr. Stillman and they can't get a good breath because they can't expand front to back. So they basically have to over breathe to compensate for that. So those drills I gave you will help change your position, change your shape of your actual skeleton, and allow you to be a more efficient breather. So there is a few things for you to look at. Does anyone else have any more questions? But, Amy, the nice thing about having that data is you can see where you are, and then you can see, the cool thing is you can see these improvements and what they're actually doing for you. Whereas instead of just guessing on how you're feeling, because like I can fake it till I make it. Like I could miss a night's sleep and just, stand on my head and power through. When I see the data and what it does to my data by doing that, it makes it much easier for me to like say, oh, that's really dumb what you just did. You probably shouldn't do that. That's just me. And a lot of people just are not self-aware of how much stress they're actually under until they see that data. Cause like, people like Amy, I'll tell them, I'm like, you're under a lot of stress. And they're, oh no, I'm not. I'm not under a lot of stress. I don't feel stressed. That's become your new normal. We look at the data and you've got an 18 respiratory rate, and that's a sign that you're under a lot of stress. And they go, oh, okay. I don't feel like I'm under a lot of stress, but then we look at the numbers and it's like, you are under a lot of stress. And so that's why we really like the ring. It really helps, especially with highly successful driven people, to give them an idea of just how hard they're actually going. It's a really funny story. I used to do high-end security, and I used to work with a lot of special forces guys that had seen a lot of combat and been in a lot of high pressure situations. It was really interesting when we were just hanging out, having breakfast and stuff. They were very awkward, very difficult, a lot of times uncomfortable, I would say. And then say if there was a situation where there was conflict or there was some sort of gunfire or something along those lines, all of a sudden you could see them almost relax. and they would start asking questions. Like, we'd be in a situation where there was a, a high stress situation, and they'd be like, how's your family doing? They'd start to have a conversation with me, and I'm like, oh crap. I mean, there's a guy with a knife over there, or there's a guy, who's trying to get into this place that we're in, and we're, moving around to basically help them, to take care of the problem. And they're having a conversation like it's like we're at church service, right? That stress situation has become their normal. And that happens a lot to a lot of people. Obviously, most people don't deal with combat, but you're in busy traffic all the day. You're scrolling on your phone. You're rolling all the time. You're constantly going. You never get a rest, and that becomes your normal, but it's not. And being stuck in that state all the time has consequences on your physiology. Then you start reaching for supplements, and you start reaching for thyroid, and you start reaching for TRT, and it props you up for a while. But that underlying root cause of you not being able to shut off and relax just keeps eating away. And eventually those modalities that prop you up for a while don't work anymore. And that's when you hit the wall, you know? So having awareness of your physiology, having awareness of yourself, is basically super important for your long-term health and you getting the results that you want. So that's basically what we do in the coaching practice, and on the medical side as well. We do that as well, but you can just get in and start working with us much, much faster if you come in through the coaching side, and we can get the results that you need. Actually, we believe in the coaching so much. Dr. Stillman has talked about making people come through the coaching program, at least getting into the fundamentals of wellness before they're allowed to come into the medical side of the practice. That allows us to keep things more affordable. And then that way we can really provide the support people need. And, instead of charging them a much higher rate to basically educate them on the basics, is what everyone really needs anyways. So we're trying to do a combination of giving people what they want, plus giving them what they need as well. So that we can, sleep at night and stuff. We're really big on that. We really want to generally help people, and not just, we want to make a comfortable living too, but we want people to get results. Let's see, Mr. Roderick again. What are the important basic markers I need to check before people starting a fitness journey aside from Oura Ring to get better results? Right. I'm not a medical doctor, but I will tell you what I do when I don't really look at my labs specifically. But I get them from time to time because I am on HRT. So I will tell you that. So I monitor what's going on. I look at A1C, C-reactive protein, all the inflammatory markers. I want to see what's going on with that stuff and see if my body's in a good place or not. That's essentially all the inflammatory markers are what I look at to see if I'm in a good place. But honestly, I guarantee you, if your Oura Ring data is good, if you've got a 12 respiratory rate, if your resting heart rate is somewhere in the 50, 60 area, and you've got a HRV that's over 60, you're in a pretty flexible place to train, depending on your age. But labs I don't think are super important. I mean, it's a good thing to basically get, but I can tell you from looking at, hundreds of labs compared with HRV data and Oura Ring data, if you have good Oura Ring data, the chances are you're going to have good labs. The big thing about labs and Oura Ring data, it allows you to basically determine what type of training you need. Obviously, if you've got a high respiratory rate, a low HRV, and a high resting heart rate, you need more general fitness, right? You don't need to drive any specific, like putting on massive amounts of muscle or, trying to develop high levels of explosive strength and power. You need to build that general fitness to get your resilience up. So if you do want to develop more muscle, if you do want to develop more explosive power, you have the resources and the ability to adapt to that. Because a lot of people don't understand, if your body's not in a good place, it's not going to adapt positively, right? So that's basically what it comes down to. But I would start your fitness journey if you're brand new, or if you're in a bad place, just start with walking. And if you search on my YouTube channel, if you're in the fundamentals of wellness, I have a whole thing on mini circuits. But I would just start doing it's called feel good circuits on my YouTube channel. Just start with one of those a day and then go from there and then see what happens. But I'd be more than happy to give you more advice if you have Oura Ring data for me. But that's basically how it works. So the labs, the HRV, the data is to determine what type of training you need to basically see where you are. And then the training itself needs to be tailored according to your biology or your nervous system and what your nervous system is doing and what your goals are. So that it's pretty simple. But Richard and Sarah Johnson, what's up, guys? Good to see you, man. Richard used to intern with me in Lexington at my gym. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for the feedback. Hope you guys are doing well. So, and Roderick, you're very welcome. But that about wraps it up. So to summarize it, I'll add this link to the description, but this afternoon, Dr. Stillman's Monday Masterclass is going to be all about red light therapy. There'll be a sweet discount on EMR Tech red lights if you tune in and watch, and you can go to Dr. Stillman's Monday Masterclass. He's actually doing another one. He double booked himself by mistake. So he's actually got a 2:00. Is it on female hormones? I can't remember, but he has a 2:00 interview where 2:00 Monday Masterclass. And then he's doing an additional Monday Masterclass with Chris at 3 because he double booked himself by mistake. And then he's doing his premium Substack. If you're a member of his premium Substack, you can get in on the Q&A with him and Chris at 3:30. So that's really neat. We've released our thyroid course. The discount code is Jim in all caps. The link to that is in the bottom. If you go to Dr. Stillman's Substack, Shannon, is there a discount for the Oura Ring? If you go to Dr. Stillman's Substack and you type in Oura Ring, it'll pull up his link to that, and that'll give you a discount code on Oura Ring. I think $50 off or something like that. But and you can always, if you missed the beginning of this, you can always go back and rewatch it on YouTube. I think even on Twitter and Facebook, you can rewatch it as well. And James, of course, thanks, Jim. We appreciate you watching all the time, Jim. It's great that you support us as much as you do. We really appreciate everyone that tunes in on a regular basis and likes and asks questions. It's much appreciated. We're trying to give away as much free value as we can to help as many people as possible in this crazy world we live in. You're welcome, Shannon. We have the thyroid course. The link is below. You can still sign up for that. Discount code Jim, all caps, for 10% off. We have our thyroid Q&A tomorrow night at 5:30. Today is Monday the 28th. That would be Tuesday the 29th at 5:30. There's a link. We're actually going to do it on StreamYard. It's still going to be streamed on all these channels, but you'll be actually to get in right on the webinar and ask us questions. We're not only going to answer questions about the thyroid course and coaching, because we've gotten so many via email. We just figured it'd be easier to get on there and do a live one. We're also going to answer questions about all the other services we have at the Stillman Wellness, the coaching side, as well as the Stillman MD medical side of the practice. So tune into that. And I hope you guys have a great day. And thank you so much for all the great questions. It's fun to get on here every once in a while and just let it rip. And now I'm going to have to go do about 10 minutes of relaxed breathing so I can calm down, because I get so worked up during these calls. I should look at my data and see how revved up I get. But the key is there's nothing wrong with working hard. There's nothing wrong with getting revved up. You just have to do the opposite so that you don't get stuck on one side or the other. There are people that actually are too relaxed. I don't run into those very often, but they do happen. So that's very rare, though. So have yourself a great day. Get outside. You deserve it. Your body needs it. You need that sunshine. You need nature. Be present. Be silent. And know. Have a good day.